Live group conversations. Live group conversations. Live group conversations. Let's talk.
All right, James Mitchell.
Hey, Kevin.
This is Life Group Conversations, episode 2, which maybe means that we're actually just getting some traction. I don't know. So before we go any further, I need you to. I asked Chris Hall to make a Life Group Conversations like a stinger. You know, like at the beginning of a podcast, you get that cool music. You know,
right?
I said I want you to come up with something that's like that doesn't look like we're trying to take this too seriously.
Okay.
You know? So and so this is what he came up with. I want to see what you think.
Live group conversations. Live group conversations. Live group conversations. Let's talk.
What do you think?
Well, I think that's would be a great prelude music, huh?
Well, I was hoping that next time.
Sundays.
What I've discovered is that's the song that gets stuck in your head. So I woke up this morning and I'm going, Live Group Conversation.
Sure.
So he did this like, there's mariachi in there and my head.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that says we're really not taking
that's
this
definitely
that seriously.
Top 10 hit there,
Thanks.
Kevin.
But we are taking this topic seriously, which is we want to talk about life group leadership, church leadership, and social media in an election year especially. I mean, across the board, right? 24/7, but especially 2020 is a year where, our social media presence can move beyond cat videos to things that are a little bit more volatile. So,
Sure.
And we're not coming to you, either one of us, from a place of having gotten this figured out. In fact, I always feel like in a sermon, our best sermons start with what Brian Chappell calls the fallen condition focus,
Yes.
where he says, let me start with a story that expresses my need for the gospel. I have botched my social media presence in many ways, and I was curious if you could say the same. I mean,
Sure, I don't
you can't come up with a story, then I'll come up with
I don't
one
do
for
many
you.
sermons, but I agree with the concept. And I think anybody who's on social media has had troubles. It's just one of those things. But in particular, in my case, I'll just take you back. This was probably 6 or 7 years ago, but it's still pretty vivid. Where it's funny. I think about the issue that somebody posted this thing. I didn't think they were right, so I fired back. They fired back. We were going back and forth. It turned out more people were watching the conversation. It happened to be with another church member, and we were going back and forth. Of course, I thought I was 100% right. They thought they were 100% right. And if I would tell you what the issue was now, everybody would say, what? I mean, it's like totally faded off. I mean, it was super important to me 7 years ago, but today it's like nobody would even care. What I didn't realize was one, that it didn't really resolve anything. Neither I nor the other person at the end of the day changed each other's views.
True, most of the time on Facebook.
In fact, we kind of got just upset with each other, unfriended each other, ended up meeting in real life and tried to patch things up. But I'd still say there's still some echoes of that there.
And that didn't help. That's right.
It helped a little bit, but not a lot. And it was pretty poor behavior on my part. Well, at least I didn't get any good outcome from it. I guess I'll say that.
It didn't go the way you wanted. And it does turn it into people who support me and people who support the other person, and it becomes we're polarizing our audience, right? So
absolutely. The people that agree with me, I love the people. Some other people weighed in. I'm like, well, they're on his side, and that was the first time I kind of woke up to the problem. I didn't know the solution back then. It took me a while to. I'm not sure. I'm still sure I know the solution, but I've gotten better than that.
I asked you to be on this podcast is so that you can provide the solution. I'm very disappointed. We'll get somebody else for episode 3. So, I remember once there was something that was going on with my college. You remember where I went to college?
Erskine College.
Mr. James Erskine Mitchell.
My middle name is Erskine because my parents went to the college and named me that.
And you guys may not know that his parents were largely responsible for me knowing about Erskine to apply for it in the first place. So thanks for that. They were going through kind of a leadership change that was moving them in probably more of a more conservative direction than they had been before, and there were a lot of alumni that were upset. I was in an alumni group, and I made some comment somewhere about everybody was comparing it to like Bob Jones, and I said something about that these people lacked imagination. I think I said that and this was friends that I went to school with. I said, you seem to lack the imagination for what Erskine could be, and that did not win me any friends to say that my friends lacked imagination.
That's interesting. Yeah. It is so easy on social media to get personal.
Yeah.
When we argue about things versus arguing about the concept, and that it's easy to throw in things, sometimes without knowing it, sometimes purposely, but that go not towards the argument, but that go to the person.
Yeah, it's my son who's taking logic in 8th grade would call that's an ad hominem attack, and I'm glad that he can see it when we're actually.
I know that word because I'm married to an English major. Ad hominem abusive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So. All right, so guys, we're not coming into this conversation as people who've figured this out, but we do think that it is crucial for us as leaders in the church to be aware of the culture that we're in right now, certainly the moment that we're in as a nation, and also the responsibility that we have as Christian leaders, that our social media usage sadly can work for or against the gospel, can work for or against the church. And we just had a discussion recently amongst the session. The elders had a discussion about this that, James, if I remember right, I think you kind of initiated and led that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when you communicate on social media and other platforms, other ways, you've got to realize there's you and there's also the position that you're in. Mm-hmm. So as we thought as a leadership group of the church, we should have a discussion of talking about, the fact that we're elders, and that means more people maybe look at what we're saying, and just to have that in mind, right? Who your audience is, because some people are very active on social media. Some are lurkers, right? Mm-hmm. They're reading a bunch of stuff, and you never know who that is.
You wouldn't know, yeah. But they know, and they recognize not just what you say, but even what you like and don't like, and what you loved versus what you wowed and ha-ha'd. I mean, people are aware of these things. And so we thought that it would be important to have this conversation with our life group leaders as well, because you guys are leaders in the church who are also looked to as your voice represents something as it relates to our efforts to disciple other people. Right?
Absolutely.
So, why should a life group leader want to pay attention specifically to their online presence? Not just why should they need to, but why should they want to, do you think?
Well, in the world that we're in right now, social media is a big part of it, like it or not. And social media, in my view, is not either good or bad. It's how we use it that's good or bad. Mm-hmm. And so as a leader, we ought to be thinking about how can we use it for good. Mm-hmm. And particularly as a life group leader, someone who's leading a group, talking about the truth of the Lord, what do you want to be known for in that group? Do you want to be known first as a political pundit, or do you want to know as someone who loves people and loves Christ?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And lead with that.
And it's a difference in how you post. At least in my, 7 years ago, it was about me being right, and it was all about me. And I've tried to, over the course of the time, shift towards thinking about, well, what impact am I going to have with that? And I think life group leaders in particular, you guys are out there with, right there on the front lines with people, and as people go through tough times and good times in their life, you're right there. And the reason I'm still on, some people choose to get rid of social media because it's been so bad. I choose to stay on it because I think it gives us good insight into where people are and what they're talking about, and helps us engage with them positively,
right?
Mostly, if we can.
Hopefully, yes. In a good scenario, yeah. What do you see as the limits of social media in being able to have, let's say, a political conversation? Like, how does social media as a means of communication work against a good conversation?
Yeah, social media seems to be a good platform for certain things, like sharing information. Like, hey, we went on this vacation. This is happening in our lives. Those things are good. As a debate platform, it has severe limitations in my view, but for two reasons. One is it's not a dialogue; it's a back and forth, right? It's you lob stuff back and forth, and then second, it's very easy to write something that you think you've written in a good way with a peaceful tone, but it's not read that way because you don't. There's no emotion in it.
It's just words.
Yeah, it's just words. And so I think one of my rules that I've come out with after having some bad experiences and doing some things improperly, it is if you do get into a debate, go back once. Back and forth once is okay. And then after the once, don't go back and forth anymore.
Okay, it's a tar baby.
Either call the person up as life group leaders. You might just have a conversation with somebody the next time at life group. But once you've gone back and forth once, it's rare. The percent likelihood of being solved is really low after the first time.
Yeah. I think what you just said, those two things are probably the same two things that I've been saying recently to people in these two words that there are conversations about politics and other issues that are close to the heart that are both relational and they're nuanced. And social media is neither relational in that kind of sense of the give and take the conversation, nor is it possible for us to be as nuanced sometimes as we need to be. Certainly, if your tweet is confined to 440 characters or whatever, how do you have a nuanced conversation about the things that matter most in these sound bites? And I think that can be that can really hurt us when we try and push the kind of conversations that need to be relational and nuanced into a kind of medium that doesn't allow that. So.
Why did Jesus come to the earth versus just sending us His word? As good as His word is, Him being here, walking with us, having a relationship, leaving us with the Holy Spirit. We're relational creatures. We're created that way. That's the way we've been since the beginning of time, the way we still are. And information exchange on social media, fantastic. Debate, relationship, horrible. That takes one-on-one meeting.
And we're not suggesting that then you take all these conversations and just have an hour and a half long slugfest at your life group. Don't do that either, right? But these are the kind of conversations that happen over coffee, right? Where we can agree to disagree, we can come out loving one another. I had a conversation today with someone where at the end I had to say, do you know how much I love you and how much I appreciate you, even though I can see that we really disagree on this topic. And to be able to come away friends. That wouldn't have happened had we tried to do it on, whatever. Facebook.
That's interesting, actually, because I feel like the first example I shared was my first way I approached Facebook is, both guns a-blazing. And then I went to phase 2. I'm now in phase 3. We'll talk about later. But phase 2 was the guardian and purveyor of truth.
Nice. Tell me how'd that go for you?
It also had some problems. I tried to be just factual, avoid the personal references and abuse, just be factual and point that out. And I just realized there that you don't have to adjudicate everything that comes up on Facebook. It's healthy to ignore some of it. For a while, I could not ignore things that were wrong, or when you mentioned, do we take everything and turn it into a conversation? No, I don't believe you do. I might said that 3 or 4 years ago, but now there's some things we're just going to let go in grace and kindness, and it's really. It's a small issue, but big things, I think those are the ones you take to conversations. And phase 2 was better than phase 1, but not great.
Okay. That's a good skill as a life group leader too, right? To know when in the context of comments that happen in a life group, to know what to affirm and what to. I probably don't agree with that, but it's not pertinent to the discussion. I'm going to let it go. I know that sometimes we can get into the finer points of Reformed theology and feel like we can't let that seemingly free will comment go for the sake of the group. But to be able to say, I want to, out of the 9 things that you said, I want to affirm the one that I think is really good.
Have you ever wondered, Kevin? I mean, so Jesus, right? Our example, the best example. He knows all truth. And can you imagine all the stuff that he heard that was wrong?
That he would have,
and so how did he choose what to engage somebody on,
Yeah.
right? How did he choose that, right?
I think he chose the things that drew out faith in people.
Yeah.
He would say, they would say, well, if you are willing, you can make me well. And he'd go, if you are willing? Like, there was a factual area. If you are willing, watch this. And so I think he would engage the things that were maybe faith barriers for people. Yeah.
And that's so, in a way, subjective.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different way of thinking about it than just trying to purvey truth all the time. And I'm for truth. I'm a big person for truth. I love truth. I think we ought to be as absolutely truthful as we can be.
Right, yeah.
But when you're interacting with people, choosing what you engage on is really an interesting concept to me right now. I deal with that a lot now.
Yeah. That may help us with the next question, because even the little engagements can sometimes create more damage, right? So let me explain. I read this book by Cal Newport called Digital Minimalism. And he talks about being more minimalistic in our digital, in our social media footprint and things like that. But so one of the things he says, never click like ever. Period. He says never retweet, never favorite, never +1 anything ever. I'm curious, how do you think that even a Facebook like, as a life group leader, as a leader in the church, how can that be dangerous, do you think?
That's interesting. That concept's interesting. I have to think about that because I'm just thinking about I liked something just the other day. By the way,
right, and I have been known to like things too. And by the way, I haven't embraced it entirely, but I think he makes me think about what
it's an interesting
I like
concept. I think sometimes I like something. I think in the context he's talking about here, because I don't want to put myself out there in a comment.
So I'm
going to like it to say, oh, well, I was supportive of that, but kind of in a, maybe that's what he's talking about.
I think so,
the lazy like, where you're not putting yourself out on something. I'll need to think on that one, actually.
Well, this may not get to the politics of it as much, but he does say that the like button is probably the weakest form of human communication that's ever been invented in the history of human communication, right? Because it's just, I can like something, but do people
look at it,
notice even what you like and what you don't like? And so he says, you know what, if you see something, and let's say so-and-so just got married and you like their wedding photo, you know what, send them a text or call them, like something that's a more meaningful means of communication than just, by the way, I'm one of 172 people that liked that photo of you with your in-laws, but to actually be able to call, to engage. But I think it's also, I can think of times recently where the church has paid attention to what some of our elders maybe have liked or not liked, liked.
It's I'll call that the lazy like from now on. I'll think about that one.
He also calls it it is a social validation feedback loop, right? So we put things out there and we're waiting for people to like it. We go back and check and see how many likes we got. Did we get any loves? Did we get any ha-has?
Well, I've been very excited. One of the things I've taken up recently is a hydroponic garden.
I have liked some of those photos.
And I do like it when people like my, I've got tomatoes that are coming that look beautiful, Kevin.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, maybe I haven't liked it, but I like that. So it's good. So, okay, last question, maybe. I don't know, unless you have some, right, that you want to throw out there too. I read this week from Lucretia Berry. She wrote the book What Lies Between Us, and there's a quote where she says, "We cannot solve the problem of being divided by being divided."
Right.
Which, I don't know, at face value that seemed very redundant, but then I thought about it and I thought, how in the world are we using social media now to furiously engage a divided culture by being divided ourselves, right? So, do you think that social media, like right now we're what? How many days from the election are we? Do you think
Less
that
than
social
30,
media is helping or hurting a divided nation right now?
Yeah,
and how? Are there ways that it can instead be part of the solution? Maybe would be a bigger question.
Yeah, I do think. God calls us to do two things: to love Him and to love our neighbor. And I've been kind of grappling with that one with social media. Where I started out 7-8 years ago, it was about me. Then it was about truth. Truth was a little bit better than about me, but not the ultimate. And now I'm thinking, when I engage somebody, how am I loving my neighbor through that?
Wow, yeah.
Right? Shifting our mindset towards how do we use this for good, and thinking about if what I'm posting, is that helping whoever I'm posting it towards, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not by any means saying I'm the example for that or the best at it or all that, but that's where I'm thinking these days.
Right. Yeah.
and it helps you. It helps me at least figure out when to engage, when not to engage, and whether to engage back on social media or through a phone call or through over coffee or these other things, right?
Yeah, that's good, because now you're using it as a maybe as a step to a greater conversation in a different medium, right, or whatever that is, a pursuit. I think that I know that there are those who have gotten off of social media altogether. Maybe they don't even check their email, in which case you're not even watching this video. So it is depressing to know how few of the life group leaders check
please
their
like
emails.
this video. No, don't like it. I'm sorry.
Like
I
this
don't
video
know.
or not, right? So yeah. Comments down below. Like and subscribe. But it is, there's to be able to embrace the benefits of a connected age.
Right.
The benefits of you being able to keep up with a friend from high school, to be able to, I get a Facebook email every day that tells me whose birthdays are that day. Yeah. But you know what? I'm not going to just go happy birthday. If there's somebody that I'm close to, I'm going to actually text them or call them. It's going to remind me to do those things. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe, the Lord said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," right? And we need to be more united in many ways.
It's a good place to land, because as life group leaders, think about what it would look like in your group to embrace that concept of blessed are the peacemakers, right? And I recognize that that's hard. Hopefully you have differences of opinion in your groups as it relates to, and I know some of those differences of opinion can get so heated that sometimes people will leave your group over it. But what does it look like for people to go, I disagree with the people that are here, but I love that there's a difference, that there are differing views that are represented here, and I feel loved in this group, despite the fact that I may disagree with people in certain areas, and to be able to, as a life group leader, to hang on to that blessed are the peacemakers calling. Wouldn't it be amazing if the day after the election we would not think differently of the person who voted for the candidate that we didn't vote for?
Right.
That we would determine, in the same way that, my goodness, Lincoln did this after the Civil War, right? with malice towards none. We killed each other, and he exhorted us, can we have no malice towards one another as we move forward? That'd be a beautiful peacemaker kind of goal. So.
And those were rougher times than we're going through now.
I would think so. So thanks for not shooting me. Appreciate that. So that's good. All right. Any final thoughts?
No, great. Good stuff.
All right. Well, thanks.
Wish you guys well.
Yeah. Thanks for all you guys do. As always, I hope these things are helpful. And if you have any questions further, ask James, because he's got this all figured out. So it's good. All right. Thanks, guys.
Life group conversations. Life group conversations. Life group conversations. Let's talk.